everyone to our first lunch lecture for this Jokerweek. Today we are going to listen to two speakers who are part of the Brussels-based practice called MaMa. Welcome Maria Anita Palumbo and Bernardo Robles Hidalgo. MaMa is a developing spatial practice that takes a critical look at our everyday relationship with the built environment. By exploring maintenance as a craft, MaMa defends the notion of maintenance as a legitimate subject within architecture itself, and not merely as a byproduct or an inevitable consequence. MaMa has been engaged in promoting and coordinating appropriation of vacant buildings and the transformation of public spaces with and through maintenance practices. MaMa has been taking part in several self-managed co-housing projects and often in eclectic environments that challenge the dwelling norm, promoting an alternative way of consumption and proposing domestic spaces for common public use. So here we have Maria Anita Palumbo. She has a PhD in social anthropology and ethnology, and she also specializes in the relationship between the city and alterity, so otherness. And her field of research is urban situations at the margins. And here next to me we have Bernardo Robles Hidalgo. He studied architecture and project management for construction. And he has collaborated with organizations that you might know like Visa 2 Toestand and Rotor DC. Further, he's also a painter and an illustrator. And now I will stop talking and pass the mic to you. So here you go.
On.
No? Or you can use my...
It's okay, no.
It's okay. Hey, hi everybody. Thanks for inviting us today. Hello to the people that are here. Hello to the ones that are at home. So MaMa started as a practice, or MaMa started as a group of people that they were curious about what maintenance meant in the built environment. And we observed from the very beginning that it was a very large subject, that they was taking, many voices were talking about it in a very different way. And we didn't really know how to frame it. So in order to do sort of an exercise to understand, okay, what are the boundaries of MaMa, who are those references that are important, how we can keep track, or all those projects and individuals, people that socially are engaged in that subject that we think can influence or could influence our discourse. We started to recopilate them. So the image that you see, the ones you see in front of you, is basically what we call they are just tags, and it's how we navigate in our website when we are looking for reference in the different subjects. So you will have activism, you have animals, you will have Renzo Piano, Colhas, Obama.
Disaster.
No, it's not working. Disaster, Manita just said. Rome, anyway. You will have like all those tags that help us to navigate. And I would like to introduce today's conversation with Renzo Piano, who is, for me, one of those first key references that came to our maintenance world. So this is a dramatic, I don't know who are familiar with this event, but a few years ago, the Geneva Bridge fell apart, killing several people. It was a big dramatic event in Italy that basically unified all Italy in the same discourse, which was our infrastructure is in decay. We haven't been looking after it enough. We have to do something to revolutionize or change what we have. We changed this, and some part of it was linked to corruption, and other part was basically that corruption translated into the lack of maintenance of all this infrastructure. And the person behind this sort of movement was Renzo Piano, who he's from Genova, where the bridge fell, and who he himself was very much defending this idea of, yes, maintenance was the problem, what we are going to do about it. He proposed a project of a bridge, and it's actually his bridge that was finally built. And at the end of this process, that again, it was very much involved in this maintenance problematic, he made this comment: this bridge will last for 1,000 years, and it will be built of steel. Maria, I don't know if you want to. No, that's not one.
This is the second one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know who Renzo Piano is, so it's major figure in architecture, and this situation of somebody as an architect who's concerned about maintenance, and suddenly decide to give as a present to his own city one of his last major projects, so a bridge, and it introduced this bridge to its own city. With this idea of durée, with this idea of lasting forever, lasting thousands of years, and again in this relying on the fact that, or underlines the fact that the materiality, the material on which the bridge would have been made would guarantee the duration of it, would guarantee the fact that this bridge would last forever. So no mention of maintenance, no mention of the work that we have to do to entertain infrastructures. And for us is an example of this contradictory relationship between architecture and maintenance. And so that's why for us this example is very important. And, by the way, the bridge is not only made of steel. And another thing that interested us is that at the end...
I don't know, at the end...
We will never know. We will never know.
Sorry, we will never know if he was right.
We will never know if he was right, because if the idea is that he would last for thousands of years, again, the scale of human being life, it's put in a sort of critical
anyway, it sounds good.
Comparison with the idea of lasting forever architecture.
Here again, Renzo Piano, 2016. I wanted to show you like a short video. He's going to be in a conference in the SART, which is this building that you had there, a very pointy building, who has become like an icon of the architecture, of the landscape of London now, in whatever picture you will have it in the background. And in 2016, there was this small sketch that you could find in YouTube at the time, and is no longer available, of him presenting the SART. I apologize in advance for the low quality of the video, and do not worry so much if you don't understand what he is talking about. I would like you more to focus in the context of what's going on. Video, please. No, it doesn't work. Thank you. No, not this one. I know what I'm talking about.
I saw it on the video. We just did it.
1 second.
Yeah.
No, but
I click here, no?
he told me he was going to do it remotely. Renzo Piano?
Oh, no, it's
Yes, not Renzo Piano.
No, it's not this one. So you have to wait for a guy over there who's going to put it on.
I think it's called Noah. Noah, please.
This, in a grey day, you have this view, this transparent, this luminosity, but when the sun shows up, of course this also makes sense because the shards are multiple, and the sun never touches all the shards together. if you only touch one. I mean, one of the reasons why we need an TCT, condensation and intensification, because it's actually less expensive in terms of energy. Especially in London, we have more than 300,000 people every day passing by. So this is it's one of the few places in London where you can do something like that in reality. So consuming energy or expressing energy somewhere in this building are coming together. So this is it's one of the few places in London where you can do something like that in reality. So energy of consuming energy or expressing energy somewhere in this building are coming together.
I try to translate I try to write what he was trying to say. That obviously it sounds to this very grandiose speech about sort of, I don't know, very masterpiece, a very dreamy way of describing his project. And I tried to actually contact the office to know if they could help me to understand what he was saying, and to have, if they had this transcript or they have a better video that they didn't have, and they didn't understood neither what he was saying. But for me, the important is not so much of what he was saying. Maybe the video is cut, maybe the video is bad quality, maybe everything made sense in a far longer, in a full version of it. So I will not blame Renzo Piano for that. But for me, the interesting thing is, like, in front of him, he has an audience that suddenly stopped to give attention to him. They don't look at him anymore. The window cleaners have taken full attention of the public. Everyone is turning around to film them. There is even one guy that is seen like knocking the window down, saying like, "Guys, move out from here. You are distracting." And he doesn't for me, as an architect, I think it would have been a great opportunity to make a point about what is the space that this human being have taken into my conception of my super
Powerful architecture.
pointy masterpiece. You have a huge building which is completely full of glass, which that is going to be like every day of the year. So a team of people is going to be there behind, cleaning it up, and you don't make a comment about it. So what was Renzo Piano thinking about when he designed this building? What do architects think about when they design a building? And does maintenance matters to Renzo and architects when they do design? Now, second reference, paint. I click here now?
Normally it should be working.
Look, okay. Great. Great.
Is it spray paint? Cool. Is it spray paint?
More or less, yeah.
Cool. Can I watch for a second?
Sure. Part of our organic lawn care program. Getting rid of all the pesticides and replacing them with paint.
BU's going green.
That's the way we're going green.
Yeah, exactly. We're definitely going green. All right. Here's to commencement.
This is for commencement. When they ran this gas line, they cut all our irrigation lines.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there goes the grass.
Yeah, they put all their pipe here and stuff, so.
They just finished this a year ago.
I know, it's pathetic. There should be a moratorium. There used to be. If they dug up a road, they wouldn't allow them to dig it up unless it was an absolute emergency. This was a nice road for about 9 months.
Great. Well, good work.
Thank you.
They're going to look real nice.
We're doing what we can. It's better than it did before.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, no. No. Wait, be careful.
Is there no?
Yeah. Oh, PDF. Oh, no.
No.
Try PDF.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about?
No, I wanted to say something to those guys there that didn't actually manage to see. There is a... Oh, right, great.
Nice.
Well...
Nice.
Oh, yeah, okay. So everybody figured out what's happening. Huh? He's painting the piece of grass that had been damaged, and he's actually painting everything to get it greener. The gray part and the green. So for us, is again symptomatic images of what's happening, and in this case, we have figures of maintainers, people that are there to entertain public space, and we're talking about Boston University. So again, we can think about a university.
Guys, the S technique. So a lot of window cleaners, at least when I first started, depending on what skill level you're at, will depend on what technique you're using. If you're coming just straight across.
Sorry for that.
No, it's again. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Can you make?
So these are three other questions that we can draw from this second video. What is the role of maintenance in the creation that produces the built environment? What type of space maintenance generates? We're not ingenuously talking about maintenance as it was the best way to produce space. We're just concerned about which space we generate when we take maintenance as the main object, and what do we maintain when we practice maintenance, and that's dealing to the
This we have already.
Yeah, to the main concern of MaMa. So these were few examples of where we started. Let's say it was the first round of our more research approach. What Bernardo synthesized at the beginning, saying that we were all concerned. We knew that maintenance was a key element to understand how the built environment should develop, how architects should act, and so we moved from this idea of collecting references of people doing the right thing, of people doing the wrong thing, of people thinking the right thing, or people thinking the wrong thing. And here we are talking with you, and we took seriously the exercise of trying to understand the main thematic of your special project week. And for the lecture of Pierre questions, and I apologize, but this part is going to be definitely more Frenchy sounding because I read the book in French. But the idea of this, the duration, the idea of durée is the invitation that Pierre made. So I understood that you mainly all read the book or part of it, or you had a lecture about it. But what is interesting about the proposal that Pierre made, and what is also a bit different from maybe from our perspective, is the idea that there is a link between the idea of reintroducing the idea of lasting things, reintroducing the idea of things that should last in a world that is actually built up with the idea of planned or unplanned obsolescence, or as an assume or not ideology of immediacy. Everything should happen now, and we are framed in our brain to this kind of, another word that we use a bit, présentisme in French, this idea of the present as a sort of a temporal dimension. And another element that we can see in the book of Pierre is the idea of maintenance. He talks about maintenance. He talks directly about maintenance. This is the main reason for which we are here. And the idea of, but I wanted to stress right away as a little difference that for me appears from the lecture of Pierre, because maintenance in the frame of that book is given as a central role in the idea of maintaining a status quo. Okay, so the idea of maintaining things as they are. At the contrary, the idea of duration, something that should last, is brought in the interpretation of contemporary world, in the interpretation of contemporary practice of architecture, as the element that should help us to really renew our idea of sustainable development. So, what is ambiguous in our lecture of Pierre Kay is the role that he gives to maintenance, because maintenance seems more like to be the role that human agent takes in a world that is mainly composed by machines, that is mainly automatized, and etc., etc. So Pierre Kay introduced this idea of maintenance as a way to ensure humankind, saying, guys, we will be there because this system anyway needs us. So the perspective of MaMa share obviously the idea of duration, share obviously the other theoretical ground of this book, but what we are concentrating is more about how maintenance can renew the idea itself of architecture, how maintenance can show us limits of the action of architecture, and we should not be afraid of it, and how maintenance can actually also at the contrary, open up the border of what we can consider as architecture or not. Because for us, we're all, in a certain way, practicing the production of space every day when you actually do your ménage, when you entertain your own home. And also these window cleaners are actually producing somehow, participating in the production of architecture. So these are the three questions that concern us. These are the three questions that can be seen as a sort of our main concern. As you say, because as you know, because this was the part of our practice that you already knew a little bit, maintenance as craft, the idea that there is an everyday practice that is connected with craftness, knowledge. The idea of maintenance as architecture, as I said, we can our hypothesis is that we can think about the history of architecture through the lens of maintenance. When we forgot about it, when we stopped to think about it, is an historical moment. It's not, we didn't forget about maintenance since ever. Maintenance is part of architecture and we have to rediscover it somehow. And maintenance as dwelling, which is the idea that actually we're maybe all sharing this practice of architecture, which is our way of inhabiting daily our home and also the planet. So now we're going to pass to a more practical section of our lecture. We're going to show you three projects. We're going to make you traveling through three projects we did, three project and research that we did. And we will start by a device that you maybe know, which is Fix My Street.
Yeah, I wanted to say that is as well, I mean, as a practice, it was interesting to see, we are interested in this subject, we are going to try to learn about it, and then we see that everybody is talking, we see that the translation of the subject within the architectural field, is not talking to us, and we are going to position ourselves as a practice on it, but you can imagine that when we start this, we were backing up, we were trying to defend an idea which we didn't really know how we could apply. So what you have in front of you is three ways that we have intended to somehow make a point in the maintenance in architecture. This is the first one, Fix My Street. It's an application that coming from Canada that basically had conquered most of the European cities. Why? Because it's helping the citizens to report problems within the city. So there's a website where this is the Brussels website. You will go, you will see a list of the latest added problems. You will have a little map that will allow you to navigate a little bit in Brussels to see where these problems they are situated.
Do you have anything similar in?
Somebody
here?
is familiar with that? No? Okay. So this is let's say the type of parameters that you can find that can help you to identify the type of problematic that you want to point at for the city to fix, and you have certain parameters that allow you to again navigate inside if you are interested in seeing a certain typology of problem. We said to the city, we said to the city, look, you have been doing this for the 5 years. You have a total of 300,000 entries. You are develop a system that we believe it could be improved, and they fund us to do a small research, and we decided within the small research that maybe we'll be interested to focus in a particular item, somehow to concretize our thoughts and our aims in order to help us and help them to see the concreteness of what our work could bring to the system. This organization is called Brussels Mobility, basically. So we focus in the poteau, in these little things. Why? Well, there are a lot. That is a map of Brussels. I have only selected. I don't know how you call it. Bollard, maybe this poteau. I don't know how you call it in Flemish.
This thing which is on the ground, how do you call it?
Straatbaltjes. Baltjes. Yeah, so here you see the brushes in baltjes. Okay, so you can imagine that.
Standing or not standing?
These ones are broken. Only broken. They are not the missing ones. These are only broken. Broken. Sorry again.
With a P from parking.
Paltjes. Thanks. Paltjes. So these are the broken paltjes in Brussels. You can imagine how the city is so happy to have a system that is actually helping the citizen to understand that they have a space in the construction of the city, but at the same time, they are somehow afraid of how, if the system is popularized, how they are going to manage to all this information. So basically, if everybody will be actually reporting every problem, they will be completely overwhelmed. Why? Because the system is not a system that is conceived to understand the problem. The system is a system that is conceived to resolve a problem. So we asked them, can you send us, thanks for passing the slide. No, it's too late now. Thanks for, can you send us like this documentation in a way that we can have all of it? Like we don't have to go like one by one, clicking in the elements to understand what, and this is what they send us. They send pages and pages and pages and code. So based.
Yes, we do. Here you go.
And this is how they don't read it. Basically, they use the same platform that any citizen to see the problem. They just can't see the problems one by one and respond by the problems by one by one. So basically, they give us this information, and then we started to collaborate with a group of coders in Brussels, where we said to them, can you make sense of it? And we need a tool that allows us to see it as a whole, like allow us to navigate around it. So we can, as an architect, somehow manipulate this information in a more tactile way to be able to take out conclusions out of it. So we produce this. This is two of every book in meant a commune. There we have a couple of 3 communes that we have worked with it. One of these is in Brussels, and it's really the process of, okay, we are going to try to understand what we have between our hands. We are going to somehow classify these elements by, it's a palce made of wood, it's a palce made of metal, it's a palce that is situated in a curve, it's a palce that has been a problem month after month after month. So we try to analyze all this information for them. This is the process of analyzing. Again, this is the book. You have it in the hand. You can check it out.
So basically what we understood is that they didn't have any way, any intention and any way to have an analytical approach to their own data. They were just collecting them and reacting. So there is one...
Palce.
Thank you. which is broken, we just replace it. There is something that is broken, we just replace it. So this logic was the only one they could actually develop with their idea of not having any kind of analytical approach of what was going on, with all this material, this information that was accumulating in their internet site. So the proposal, the development we did, our approach was to get out of this repair logic. We actually tried to make them understand that they had to elaborate a methodology to get out of this problem repair loop. Because actually, when they just replace the same object that have been damaged in the same position, they're not solving any problems. They're just reopening a cycle for the same problem to appear. And that's when the idea of maintenance and the idea of integrating the problem of maintenance in the design, within the design of public space, is clearly sustained by the fact that they're just, let's say, not wasting, but investing time and money, not in a system that can last more than this cycle of broke, repair, broke, repair. It didn't work.
No, wait, come on. For me, it was as well very excited to see all these documents. Like I had this obsession of thinking, could we understand what is the decay of the city? Could we see like every action that it help us to keep the cities as we want them? And for me, this tool is really the closest so far that we can. I think we can get to that. So for me, it was having this in my hands. It was for me quite excited.
Yeah, when I say it didn't work, is that it's interesting to understand that the logic of repair, it's actually too embedded in the infrastructure of the city hierarchy and the city system. And we didn't manage to, we managed to convince them that this is the way they should go. And we hope they're going to do it. And we hope they're going to develop this idea in the future. But we had really the idea that things are, and Pierre Kay really talk about it in this book, this idea of the institution that have been embodying this idea of things not lasting, you know, this idea of a world that we just think about 5 years of a political charge, and then we just we don't have the idea of thinking in a lasting perspective.
I think they were very excited, and they did understand the value of the elements that we were bringing, and actually after our work, they put people to try to use. Basically, we produce a methodology. We said to them, here is a methodology on how you should look for problematic situations that you could actually solve. For instance, the books that you have in your hands, they are classifying the different communes between different clusters. The cluster at the beginning of the books, they are the clusters that they have received the higher number of incidents. So basically, if you target that cluster and you manage to find a better design solution that could solve the problem, you will be easily erasing, again, points in the city that they are particularly problematic. So we said, if you have this tool, which are the books that you have in your hand, and you have a methodology that is able to translate your understanding of the problem into a better design, basically long term, you will start to erase the problem and not to, again, restart the cycle. But when we say it failed because they didn't understood, I think, they really wanted guidelines on how to solve the problem. They were not interested in
changing their own methodology of working, in the sense of how do we approach the city as a material and built environment that needs a certain global overview. And yeah, but anyway, we have to go because it's 42.
Okay. So you go fast.
Okay. So then we went into a completely different universe in which they speak your language, and you can ask yourself how did we do that, because we do not speak Dutch. So we've been joining an architectural team which is called Metapolis, in participating in the elaboration of a new master plan for Kolderbos, which is
Henk.
which is in Ghent, and which is a neighborhood constructed in the 70s with this idea of working class neighborhood, and that needs some transformation. That's what was going on. So what did we do? So maybe you're more familiar with this kind of neighborhood. It's 60 little block, identical.
Yeah, so basically just how do we respond to this? There is a master plan, how do we respond to it? We said, okay, in order to do a good job, in order to understand the place, first of all, we are going to go there to live. So we moved, Marita and I, with our 2 daughters to there for a month. So we were living in one of the apartments. This is already something that none but one of all the gestionnaire managers of the site that we met have done. Actually, they have never gone into one of these apartments, and we started to document what was there.
Daily life.
Our daily life in the community. This was half of it, and the other half of it. This is great. It's been cut. Doesn't matter. The other part of it is that they ask us, we want some interventions in the place. Can you do things that somehow help to spark the imagination of the citizens? So basically there was another part was related to using the materials of the city that they were available to do small interventions like benches, creating small playgrounds, fixing things that they were a bit unfunctioning here. And maybe one of the most relevant interventions is all the apartments in the ground floor, they are situated more or less around 110 centimeters high. So it was quite easy for us to do this opening and introduce a new, using the materials of the cities, create a direct access that was allowing the inhabitant to have a direct access, for which she was evidently super happy. And
so in this second example, what is really important, what was our position is that we were mainly associated to what you could call process of participation, participatory process somehow. And we do not embody that. This is not our way of doing things. What we defend is the idea that dwellers are our allies in the understanding of a place, how it works, a neighborhood, and especially they are the maintainer. They are the one that can, starting from their use of everyday, their everyday use, they can give us tips on how the place should be transformed, but also give us the first step is how we can associate with them in transforming the everyday life of this kind of neighborhood. And
for me, two interesting things came out of this process. For me, it was the first time working in a master plan. So basically this idea that we were creating an object, a fixed object that was going to be placed to the construction of the development of that neighborhood for the next, 30, 50 years ahead. And that this, obviously, as inhabitant, how do you position yourself in this process that seems so far away? I think with our interventions, they were very pleased of what was going on, and actually they have decided to carry on doing small interventions. Now there is a far bigger budget, so probably the idea that the transformation can start actually today, pointing out at small things that make a great difference in the neighborhood is somehow being implemented right now. So this is a big success. And the other one, in the part, what I understood, what it was interesting to understand, in order to see this landscape in Colderbos, which seemed extremely homogeneous, which for somebody who just came to the place, is very difficult to situate yourself where you are, because there are very small points of reference, the major one being Lidl at the center of the complex, is that we could not, you see that people, the inhabitants, they're actually afraid of interacting with the common areas. Interacting meaning putting a plant outside their houses, because they are worried about what are going to be the consequences of the city if they do so. Because they are all in sort of need of having that housing. They don't want to put themselves in a like, they don't want to be tapped on the shoulder if they do something wrong. So they basically, this collective fear influences the non-existence of visual reference or appropriation of the common areas in the space. And actually the element that was taken to define these ground areas, the ground space, the decision of why we didn't want the inhabitants to appropriate the space is to not influence with the work that the people who cut the grass was doing. So cutting grass was put as the element who was dictating the entire use of the common areas in Colderbos.
So in this case, the act of maintenance, as it was settled before we arrived, the idea of cutting the grass homogeneously, clean, and everywhere the same, was basically the action that was designing the space the most and not allowing people to appropriate the space around their house and just using it for diverse kind of uses. And I just wanted to add that our intervention in this case was displacing the attention from the dweller to the management. We tried to make understanding the people that we were not there to ask people what they wanted, the dwellers. We were mainly there to try to convince the managers to change their approach in maintaining the place, in entertaining what is going on there. So changing their relation with the dwellers of the place.
So we had a presentation that was like city, neighborhood, and we wanted to go into home, giving an example of co-housing project and how we are developing practices that allow us to a little bit question the relationship, the contractual relationship between inhabitants and owners. I think we are going to skip that because we are very far on time. It will be for another time, but voila, that's all. Bernardo Robles, Maranita Peluto, thank you very much.
Our schedule is not super tight, so... If you want, we can have some more minutes.
We will just give you some so you can come and visit. Since 2000, just 2 minutes.
But you can have
so 3 years ago,
no
3 years ago, I don't know if you're familiar with Brussels, but 3 years ago we decided to we had an experience in 123. 123 was a squat, not a legalized one. We've been living there for a while, and the squat was closing, and you can see all these practices and all these ideas were going on. There was a parallel things, and we found a new place to live. We're living in this building. This is an ancient tools cellar for bricolage and housework, and we are living 5 adults and our 2 daughters, but with other adults, and we're using the ground floor as it is completely connected with the apartment upstairs as a sort of common place for us, for the neighborhood, and for different activities. And why for us this is it's part of our practice as MaMa is because this is possible because we decided to work on our relation with the owner. our relation as dwellers, our status as dwellers that are not owning the place, but that are dealing with the owner. And for us, this is another way that we should go, for another direction that we should take as architects, but also as just as human beings and as dwellers, to understand that our understanding of a building, how it works and how we can use it, should start from our way of dwelling and our way of inhabiting and our way of interacting with the built part of it, but also the relations in which this relation of renting a house is taken. So that's why and that's the third point, is the idea that managing a place in an everyday scale can be considered as architecture, should be considered as architecture, and it's connected with how we prolong the life of a building and of our dwelling on Earth, we could say. That's it.
Thank you very much, both of you. I think we still have some time if you want to have like some questions by the public or have like a little discussion. I don't know. Maybe for like the live stream, you have to like ask the question and then you can repeat it for the people at home, maybe. So yeah, Aldo.
It's about appropriation, not the last, but the project in Genk you said. If you are talking about appropriation and about management or maintenance, standing in the way of people appropriating the space, then shouldn't it be better to design things that don't need management or maintenance, or things that maintain themselves? Like, for instance, a bridge made of steel needs no maintenance.
So you repeat the question? I think it's...
Yeah, but this one I didn't hear.
Okay. No, but
Is it better to design things that do not need any maintenance?
Yeah.
For in the sake of appropriation?
Yes.
I'm asking about the bridge made of steel, who was meant to be
Maintenance free. Yeah.
then it should be a good thing, right?
But in the sense, Renzo Piano is not thinking about a maintenance-free element. He's just not thinking or not talking, not taking in account the maintenance part of it. It's a very different approach. I think he very well known how much maintenance he will take. Where is your graphic about?
It's not here.
Ah, okay. We miss an image that would have been.
But Renzo Piano is just ignoring that maintenance, even on the steel, will still be necessary. You know, it's not that he cannot ignore that. In relationship to introducing, the thing that is again is we try to acknowledge that not only materiality can achieve such a goal. You know, and what we try to focus is in for instance, imagine the master plan. Imagine that we are not there, and there's a super team of architects that will make you the super perfect project that is going to come there. Okay, even though you make a super perfect project, you are dealing with a super non-perfect context, and the transaction and the translation of that perfect project into in the habitat, it will create frictions that will make that such a perfect project fail. So we try to focus a lot in introducing practices that helps people to, in a transitional way, move from a standard or what they consider like from a normality to another normality. So, for instance, the fact of creating a new access to this for Maureen, creating a new access for Maureen. She is gathering a lot of attention, and people is seeing that, and suddenly it passed from something which is very striking people to somebody that has been always there. So the more they are, the easier will be to people to start to put plans there, and without feeling that people is going to break them or they're going to stall them or people is going to get into. So for us, the maintenance there is about how to introduce new ways of dealing with the house. No, Again, not with the materiality. That being said, if you see the interventions that I have done, there are things I put at mountains of sand. You know, how you break this? You don't break that. It's impossible. And this is certainly it's interesting to add sometimes in a project very fragile objects, because that make people understand that fragile objects can still exist, like the flowers of marine. When somebody sees that, the construction of the universe around that space change. But of course, it's important to understand that in order to get that transition, you need to be either very attentive in terms of maintenance. I have been in project with these fragile objects that were constantly being for a small part of time, but constantly being just destroyed. And my work was being there every day, 8 o'clock in the morning, putting things as if nobody had happened. So a new culture, a new understanding, a new vision of the space was created, which will allow this object to exist, basically.
So I think in the two elements that you stress out, the contradiction is there, but that is not a contradiction that has to be solved. It's a contradiction with which we have to work. So you can't, the maintenance approach, the obsession of cutting this grass is a maintenance question, you know. They think the best they can do, nobody can cultivate nothing and putting nothing in the grass in front of the house, because this is not allowing the process of maintaining this grass easy, you know. It is. So, of course, there is a contradiction. So that's why we are not also, for us, maintenance is not a perfect value anyway, or it's not a neutral value. It has to be taken in account, and it has to be part of the equation.
Okay, someone else who has a question? Yeah, Francis.
Isn't it more about how maintenance is organized and how it can be perhaps a more empowering thing, like if the inhabitants could have a say in how the maintenance is organized, and how can we like establish this?
I think that's a path. That's a way. Again, it's complementary to all the other aspect of it. I don't think they should. I mean, they should. They can. They can have something to say about it. But I'm an anthropologist. But I'm not here to say that we always have to listen to what inhabitants says and do what they say. Huh? It's more about understanding their living every day and try to help it to develop in the built environment, or to have a mirror, the built environment as a mirror of it. I think we should empower them, as you say, somehow. And first of all, we have to understand how they are already taking part of the maintenance of their own space. You understand? So it's not only about what do you want, how do you want us to maintain the grass in front of your home? It's just giving them the power, or just the role, taking in account the fact that they are already doing something, and that we should, the best you can do is facilitate their own maintenance of their own space. And that's a lot about, that is the connection for us between the Calderbos project and also our housing project. We have to go back, not even to go back, we have to renew our way of thinking our relationship with the built environment, and maintenance is part of it.
Maybe I'm playing the devil's advocate a little bit here, or fixating too much on the example in Calderbos. But if you say like the grass is being maintained right now, it's just being mown, and it's very clean, but it takes a lot of work. And if you say these zones, we're not going to cut it anymore, or we're just going to let it grow, or someone else can do it, where do you define the line between a difference in maintenance, and when does it just become a design decision of not having grass in that spot? Why do you call it then
question for the people at home was, where lies the difference between like deciding what is about maintenance or like deciding how to design it, like it shouldn't have, yeah, it shouldn't be like maintained or like needed to be painted. And yeah.
So
No, but I think, yeah. Is it really a question of what is the boundary between deciding that maintenance should be done differently or just design a different public space?
I think the difference, look, we don't know where we are getting when we are starting to say to people, you can start to put roses in front of your house. But our starting points are two. Understanding what are the needs of that, the guy who cut the grass. So basically, I went to talk to him. He explained me how his machines work, how he moves around, and I try to understand which contexts they were for him problematic and which contexts they were for him not problematic, in order to take that information, compare it with what the wishes of that inhabitant, because you have to imagine that in this process is very, as Marita was somehow pointing, you can easily spot individuals that they are craving to do such, like this type of appropriation in common public space, and we start by a handful of them, you know. So we just we are going to give a bit of a space. We are going to catalyze the actions that they are already taking. And I don't think you have to think about how the process is going to end. I don't think you need to have in mind this final picture of how it looks ideal. I think you need to put a methodology that is able to accept an evolution, you know, able to say, okay, it's working like this. This person is creating his garden. She's doing a fine job, or she's not doing a good job. We have to talk to her. But I think it's in the mediation between the different partners, and not seeing it as, okay, we have to do this. This is the final goal. I think the final goal is being created little by little, but how the different parties are negotiating with each other.
And our role in it is also prevent in the future, in this context, prevent in the future master plan to do the same error, in the sense that we observe conflicts about the use of this grass. It's not like everybody is okay with the grass that is cut like this right now, you know. So there are conflicts about it. There are conflicts of cannot, somebody, you know, there are conflicts. Plus, is very dirty. That's what everybody complain about it. So when we analyze what are the conflicts going around, we try to project in a future in which these conflicts can be solved, or we accept it. We don't have always to solve conflicts. They're part of public space as well. But in this precise case, we understood that if the future design would have been just a very nice, fully designed grass from the landscape architect, it would have not worked. That's the idea. So if you understand this, because conflicts that you observe make you understanding that this is not going to work, and then what is going possibly to work is to follow what is already there, but it's very timid, very just, you know, like punctual, and not diffuse. And so you follow actors and you try to empower those actors that are already doing that practice.
Sorry, I wanted to add something. It's funny because we talk about how these habitants fear be pointing out, being tapping the shoulder, and that's why one of the elements that is limiting them to interact with the public space. But what is very interesting is like the managers of the site, they are the same. They fear to be tapped in the shoulder by something that they have decided to implement. So basically, they start to take decisions not based on how we are going to create a more qualitative public space. They start to take decisions of how nobody is going to say that I'm doing my job wrong. So part of our job was going to the presenting to the bosses, saying, look, the project sometimes is going to fail. Things are not going to work. Neighbors are going to have conflict with each other. But this is normal, and this, if taken well, if used properly, it will help the project to evolve, and you need to give it some space. The first day that I was doing that, this is the same space. The first day I was doing that, I had these neighbors coming to us saying, you are doing a big house, you are destroying the place, you are like super aggressive to us. And if we would have it will have listened what they were saying. If the manager of the site would have heard these words and translated directly to the city, if they take the emails, because these people talk to me, but as well they send emails to whoever, they take these emails and say, yes, this is happening, we have to remove it, then the entire project would have failed. And many of these people who was complaining about it, they are just basing their response to what for them they understand is their normality. And again, this is a normality that we are trying to question. So obviously it's going to be somehow a conflictive project that is going to become people that they are not happy and things are not going to work. And if everybody understands that this is part of the process, then it takes out the weight of the manager, that take out the weight of the users, and then things can start to change.
Okay, then once again, I like to thank you both very much for the interesting and inspiring lecture. And I also like to thank the public for listening and asking questions. So thank you very much.